Hello, everybody. What's going on? It's your boy, the Cho, Corey Ryan Forster, WellREDComedy.com, WellRED Comedy.com. That is where you can find out where we're going to be on our 2020 tour, March 12th through the 14th, Raleigh, North Carolina, March 27th, New Orleans, April 2nd through the 4th, Indianapolis, Indiana, April 16th through the 19th, Washington, D.C., April 25th, Atlanta, Georgia, May 8th, Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, May 9th, Seattle, Washington, and June 20th, we are at the Minneapolis Comedy Festival with some people you may have heard of, like, Bert Kreischer, Whitney Cummings, Nick Offerman, and Jeff Foxworthy. It's going to be a great time, so go to WellREDComedy.com to grab those tickets. While you're there, subscribe to our newsletter so you will know where we're going to be before my dumbass even does. Also, grab some sweet merch, our book, The Liberal Redneck Manifesto, Dragging Dixie Out of the Dark, our album, Well Read Live from Lexington, along with some hats and t-shirts and posters and shit, all sorts of stuff on there. Anyways, this podcast, as always, is brought to you by SmokeyBoysGrillin.com. Go to SmokeyBoysGrillin.com to get all the rubs for all your meats, and also CarveVodka.com. Do you want to drink like the Cho? I know you do, so go to CarveVodka.com and check out what all the fuss is about Jacksonville's first and only craft vodka distillery. Carve your own path, you silly butts. And now, on to the podcast. Skew!
They're the liberal rednecks, they like cornbread and butt sex. They care way too much but don't give a fuck. They're the liberal rednecks that makes some people upset, but they got 3 big old dicks that you can suck.
So, hey, I wanted to talk about something that maybe there's no way you've noticed it before, because if you'd noticed it before, we would have talked about this. I was rewatching Tombstone for the sincerely over 100 times. Like, there's no way I haven't seen that movie over 100 times. I was watching it this weekend with some of my friends. And so we all know that, like, Jason Priestley's character in there, he's like, they don't ever come right out and say it, but I mean, he gay, right?
In what?
In Tombstone.
Yeah. I think they kind of come out and say it.
But they hint around it. Like, you're definitely supposed to know, especially when at the end when he's with Billy Zane and he's holding him and stuff.
He says he's wonderful and beautiful.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I was rewatching the movie, and again, I've seen this movie hundreds and hundreds of times. And as we're watching it, one of my buddies goes, I never noticed, but Curly Bill kind of seems gay. And I was like, no, Curly Bill's just one of them, like, eccentric dudes that, like, he's just, like, super confident in his masculinity. And, like, when they're at the play or whatever, he's got his arm around Jason Priestley's character. And, like, I was like, no, to me, that's just like, look, I'm just letting this little gay feller know that I'm cool and he's my buddy and whatever. And then at one point, Billy Zane comes out and Curly Bill goes, that's the prettiest man I ever saw. And I was like, yeah, but that's a man that's confident in his sexuality. He can say that type of stuff. Like, he's not gay. He just is this. Like, my sister's father-in-law, Mark, he's a super masculine dude, but, like, he also loves the Bee Gees, and, like, he'll straight up, like, oh, that's a really handsome man over it. Just someone who's super confident. And that's all that was. And then Curly Bill gets super into the play, and they're like, look, man, he really loves the arts. I was like, right. It's I love the arts, and I'm not gay.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, like, that's all going through my mind. I'm like, man, y'all are wrong. And they're like, well, dude, sincerely, at this point, he's done just as much gay shit as Jason Priestley is. And I'm like, nah, that ain't it. Then we get to the scene. I've never noticed this before in my life. We get to the scene where Curly Bill, right before he kills Dan, or Fred, the town marshal or whatever.
Yeah.
He's in that opium den, right?
Yeah.
And he's smoking opium. And
you got that little Asian dude.
Yes, dude. And I always was like, yeah, he was like, that guy was handing him a pipe or something like that. No, we rewatched it like 5 or 6 times. He's like cupping that dude's face and like turning around as if they just got through making out and shit, dude.
Holy shit. Powers Booth. Rest in peace.
Go back and watch it, dude. Like, again, like, they weren't kissing, but every time I watched it, like, I just filled in the blanks in my head of like, yeah, he just handed that guy a pipe. There's no pipe, and he was holding the side of this dude's face. And my buddies, of course, were like, we got to go back and watch it again. Sometimes Asian women just shave their heads. I was like, no, dude.
No, they don't. First, I mean, I'm sure they do, but that's not like a thing.
But they needed it to be a thing so bad because there's no way Curly Bill's gay. But we went back and it's like, no, dude, that was an Asian man and he was just laying in bed with the dude. So like, I think Curly Bill gay.
Every character named Bill in Tombstone is gay.
Except for Billy the Kid, but Billy the Kid ran off during the Battle of the OK Corral, which like some would consider pretty gay.
Well, we have solved it.
So I don't know, man. It just fucked me up because like it made me like obviously I don't give a shit if Curly Bill's gay. Hell, that honestly adds more depth to the character. But like I cannot believe that I've never even come close to putting any of that shit together. And for the record, I may be wrong because like I Googled is Curly Bill gay and there wasn't one think piece, not one Reddit fucking thread. And like funny. So maybe we're the first people that put it together. I don't know.
God, is there a way, I'm sure there's not, and I don't want to get anyone's hopes up. Is there a way we can call DJ and have him on the podcast right now?
Right now, I could put him on speaker.
How would that sound really, though?
Or you could put him, if you call him on your phone and you put it on speaker and you put it up to your microphone, I think it could work.
All right, let me see if he answers. Now, you're going to be able to hear him. He's not going to be able to hear you. Okay, Corey? Right?
That's accurate.
Also, I called him on the way over here, and he didn't answer.
He does that
but he
sometimes. You'll call, and then he'll immediately text back, and you're like, oh, are you busy or something? He's like, no. Just, no, baby.
Can you hear that?
This is prime time for space news. Yeah, I can hear it.
Speaking of Into the Biscuit Patreon, we're going to release the space news. It's already out. By the time you hear this podcast, it'll be out. DJ, it's got space news behind the paywall. And, buddy, we're talking about underground bunkers. We're talking about wars and treaties. And
hey, you've reached DJ.
Damn it. I'm going to try him one more time. Sometimes if you call him twice in a row, he's like, he gets the hint that you need him.
Yeah, right.
I don't think he's going to answer.
No, he's not going to answer.
Rate, subscribe, Into the Biscuit, share it. Do that with this podcast. When's the last time you told somebody about the WellRED podcast, guys? Tell somebody about it.
Yeah, if you could just tell one person about the WellRED podcast, and I'm sure everybody out there's like, I did. I've only got one friend. They listen too. We're both of your fans.
Right. All right. Well, my mind's blown. Wait, I'm going to tell him.
I know, right?
I told him call me. I'm going to tell him it's about Tombstone. Guarantee.
Oh, yeah. He'll fly to L.A.
He'll pull over. He's probably driving.
Yeah.
Drunk. I'm going to shame him on 2 podcasts. I shamed him on ours. Some bitch got off work at 10, and he was like, and I went home, because I had to come up here, and it takes me about an hour, so I had about an hour in between my shift, and I was playing with this snake Dre made, and anyway, I had about 6 beers in the fridge, so I drank them all in 30 minutes. Then stopped and got some more on the way. I'm like, dude, don't do that. He's like, I'll be fine. I'm like, you might get arrested. Like, I don't think you're going to die, but you might get arrested. Here I am putting his business in the street.
Where's he working at right now?
Dollar General. You need to go see him.
Oh, yeah. I do need to go see him.
Yeah, he's a no-limit soldier in the Dollar General.
Is he working
Army.
at the one over by?
The one he walks to.
Yeah, okay, so yes.
Well, I didn't quite hear what you... Over by the laundromat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your theory? Or that was your theory. I thought you meant you had a theory as to why we were late.
That was my theory that Curly Bill was gay. Yeah.
Well, we'll keep talking about Tombstone.
No, I didn't have my theory as to why we were late was just because of time and space being a construct.
And not hitting time nor space.
No. You said you had a theory that you wanted to share with me.
Well, no, the theory. Well, I had a theory about why we're late just because Dad's not here. But I have another thing I want to share with you that I've done.
Yes.
And I want your thoughts on it. And I did talk about this on Into the Biscuit, but if we do have double listeners, DJ's perspective is obviously going to be so different than yours because he is space.
Yeah.
Last night, I ordered a DNA test. Something that
Are you 100% that bitch?
I'm 100% scared. I haven't taken it yet.
Okay.
Because it hasn't come in the mail, but I've been against those. I am against those. Here's what happened. I was scrolling through. I saw an ad for one or something like that, or maybe an article about them or something. it was talking about like finding out the health benefits and all that. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that's, you know, it'd be kind of cool. I don't really care like where my genome came from, like what part of white I am. You know what I mean? What part of white is he? Fucking all of them. I know that.
Exactly. Yeah, because I mean, we're fucking white. There's not going to be too many surprises in the DNA.
Right. It's like, which atrocity are my people responsible for?
Exactly. And at this point, with me not knowing, I can just pretend, well, it ain't that one. I'm one of these.
Exactly.
I don't need to know.
Exactly. My family in America didn't own slaves. Like, why would I want to ruin that unblemished record?
Yeah.
But I have been curious, and I've been more curious about the health benefits. There's a lot of stuff in your DNA where you can figure out what kind of diets are best for you, what kind of foods cause inflammation, because they know a lot more about that now. So I've been curious about it, but I've been against it because, like, dude, that's some nefarious shit. There's no way, even if a company right now, is founded upon goodwill and good science and good intentions and letting people know what their DNA says about what they should eat, what they should avoid, what kind of medicine, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But that information lives, and then the person who founded the company dies, and maybe their little shithead kid, you should have tested their DNA. Maybe that little shithead kid is greedy, starts selling that information to the government. Who knows what they're going to use it for? And last night, I was scrolling, I was reading, and I was like, man, I'm curious about this, but it's so evil and nefarious. And then that kind of hit me. It don't matter. I'll be dead. And they're already doing the evil shit. They've already got every fucking Tom, Dick, and Harry's DNA in America. They already have everyone who's ever been arrested's DNA. They're already doing the bullshit. Like, this is like making sure you use a real straw in the face of the entire country of China producing 70% of the world's greenhouse gases. It don't matter. Learn what vegetables are good for you. But I'm still nervous.
It didn't even cross my mind that was like a benefit of it was your diet.
That's how they got me. That's what put me over the top.
Right, yeah, of course.
And I've heard about that stuff before through, there's like, you know, blood tests at certain doctor's offices that you can get. And by certain, I'm certain like it's a secret thing. Just like a lot of doctors offer stuff like that, where like you can get a full blood thing done. Sometimes your insurance will pay for it, sometimes it won't. And we can tell you certain things about, you know, what you should avoid, blah, blah, blah. And look, I'm sure it's bullshit. And DJ's response was, they're going to start advertising to you, which I thought was funny and something I hadn't thought of. Like, I get my test back.
Like how Google steals your information?
Yeah. Like, I get my test back, and it says, like, oh, you should be on a low-carb diet. And next thing I know, every ad on my phone is for low-carb diets.
I mean, I'm not there. I mean, to me, of course that would happen.
Yes, but my thought with that is, I've been wanting these goddamn ads to get better. You know, it's about time they give me something I need.
At least give me something. Yeah. Yeah, well, my thing with that whole DNA thing is like, it's, you know, you can find out, you know, like, oh, your ancestors died of this type of cancer and this shit runs in your family and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, man, that's just going to worry me more than it does give me peace of mind.
That's what Andy said. And my response to that,
and I know that's probably like a stupid, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I know that's like a stupid, showy fucking way to look at the world. Like, oh, I'd just rather not know. I'd just rather be taken by surprise. But like, there's part of me that kind of does feel that way. I'm like, man, if it's anything so bad that it's going to take me anyways, like, I don't want to have to like be worried about it for a while and then also get it and then also die. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's wild how similar you and Andy are. I mean, she basically said that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you my response in a minute, but then she told me this story apparently in China. This is according to Andy in a documentary she saw. So I apologize if this is incorrect or only applies to the Shanghai region. But if you go in for something for tests, the doctor don't tell you your test results. They tell your family. It's your family's responsibility to do what's right based upon those test results. So if you get a certain kind of test and they're like your cholesterol's high, you got to stop eating fatty stuff. Then your family, they don't even tell you that. They just stop feeding you fatty stuff. So this documentary was based upon the girl who made it when she was a little girl. I'm sorry, it was not a documentary. It was just a movie. But at the end, it comes back to reality. Here's what happens: a young girl is raised mostly in America. she and her family learned that her grandmother has 3 weeks to live from lung cancer. And they, per tradition, don't tell her. But this 13-year-old girl has to live with that and is so upset, and she can't cry around her grandma. She's supposed to be stoic, and she struggles with it. And then throughout the course of the movie, the grandma doesn't die after 3 weeks. And the little girl, I guess, like kind of learns that it's like she grows up, kind of. And then at the end, you find out that it's based upon the director's actual Mimi, and it shows footage of her doing Tai Chi. And it says, we were told in, say, 1996, Mimi had 3 weeks to live. Mimi died in 2018.
Wow.
And so, like, the idea is worrying about like your body will heal better if you don't know.
Right. Like, what was she gonna do?
Exactly.
Like, if someone tells you got 3 weeks to live, like, okay, so this dude that my dad know, and I'll get your opinion on this because I go back and forth. This dude that my dad knows just found out that he has a brain tumor, and like they just caught it, but like it was already it's too far gone. You know, like he started having headaches, he couldn't see. He gets there and it's like, man, it's stage 4. Like, buddy, we can't get it all. And they're like, we can do this surgery and it will give you like, let's say you got 3 months right now. This will give you 9 months. You know what I'm saying? Or a year. And I was just like, I don't think I'd do it. You know what I mean? Because like, that's just longer to live knowing I'm still going to die.
Yeah, I know
like, that wouldn't hit.
I know I wouldn't fuck with that shit.
And Dad's like, well, yeah, I hear you, but like now that I have grandkids and stuff, you might think it a little different because like that gives you more time with them. And I'm like, yeah, more, but what kind of time? You know what I mean? Like not good time and just more time for everybody to be like, clock's running out. And so I guess to me, like if they hadn't told me my brain was right and they were just like, oh yeah, we don't know, man. And then yeah, worst case scenario, I go die in 3 months, or I probably die quicker because I just sit there and think about it with the part of my body that is cursed, my brain, and then I make my brain worse.
Right. I could see the stress making things worse, obviously. My thing with it, though, is, well, first of all, in terms of the medication, no. I'm never, ever fighting anything. I mean, that's easy to say.
Right.
Depends on the prognosis. Like you said, if it's like, if you fight it, you might extend it by a year. Fuck that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If they say if we fight it right now, there's a chance we can get it,
right,
and you'll be good, then absolutely.
Even
of course, I'm a young man, but if they say, right, but I still would have to be like, okay, man, I'm fucking 32. Like, yeah, I got a lot of shit I want to do. But if they said if you fight it, we can maybe give you a year, I'll be like, man, what the fuck is a year? Who gives a shit?
Right, but my thought is like,
make me comfortable.
What's the real chances? Because if you're going to tell me that I'm going to try to fight it for 3 years, be miserable, be sick, everyone around me is going to be sad, depressed, they're going to have to watch me die slowly, it's going to be horrible, and that's the last 3 years of my life, versus, and this is why I want to know, this is why I don't like the Chinese version of this. Finger traps and the way they deal with death, I'm against the Chinese versions of them. I want to know so I can, like, you know, do stuff.
Right.
Like, I'm trying to see Spain.
Go skydiving.
I'm not going skydiving. Fuck that. But, like, you know, I want to see Spain. I'm going to eat steak every day till I hate it, and then I'll stop, and then I'll drink red wine. You know what I mean? Like, I want to do stuff like that. And it's like, well, you should live your life that way. I try to. That's expensive. First of all. Second of all, it will kill you. You can't live the way that I would live if I knew I had a year. I'd do heroin. Like, y'all have a different last year in mind than me. You're like, you should go take walks on the beach every day if you got a year to live. No, that ain't what I'm talking about, dude. I'm talking about putting a fucking speedball in my arm and going to a Molly Hatchet cover band concert. Like, I'm getting down. So that's why I would want to know.
Yeah, like I don't know how many, like, you see it all, especially now with Instagram, you see it even more, like the phrase, you know, treat every day like it was your last day on earth. Like, I see so many people who I consider smart people saying that, and I'm like, you can't do that shit unless it really is one of your last days on earth. Because, like, if every single person lived as if it was their last day on earth, we wouldn't have houses and roads and none of that shit.
Yeah, who the fuck is putting money in a 401k on their last day on earth? Or for that matter, is doing a damn podcast. I wouldn't be here right now.
Right.
You know?
No. like I would still probably do stand up on my last day on Earth, but like not an open mic.
No, I'd be knee deep in shrimp,
but
knee deep in pussy. You know what I'm saying? Like there's
I think about that too. Like people are like, oh, I want 6 more months with my kids. I'm like, yeah, but think about them 6 months extra worth of hospital bills that now their inheritance don't hit as much.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I mean, am I right? Am I off base there? Like, it's going to cost you a lot of goddamn money.
And that's why I would want to know. I wouldn't want to do the Chinese version. The other thing, and it's so funny, like I said, you and Andy think so similarly. It's like, why know? Like, why live with that? But, like, dude, in terms of the DNA test stuff, I already know. She's like, what if you find out you're more than likely going to get Alzheimer's? I was like, I am more than likely going to get Alzheimer's. My Flo had it. My mom's probably going to get I know that shit already. And she's like, but isn't I'd just be worried about it. And I'm like, you would be worried about it. I already have a level of worry about cancer, Alzheimer's, certain diseases. Actually, it's just mainly those two. Because one rots you from the inside and the other one makes you crazy. I'm already worried about them. If they give me this piece of paper and they're like, yeah, it's like a 40% chance, that's not going to change how I feel. I already feel like it's a 40% chance. And when it happens, I'll be more prepared for it. And that's the thing that's the difference between me and Andy. And I don't know if it's the difference between me and you. I've made plans for all these things already. If I get Alzheimer's, I'm going to start doing heroin and then I'm going to kill myself. Like, that's what I'm going to do. That's not dark. That's not macabre. That's not sad. That's me saying there's no fucking cure and I don't want to go crazy and you die anyway. I'm just going to fucking end it at a certain point. So there's nothing on that piece of paper, I don't think, that's going to scare me. It will just help me maybe, do some things. And then she's like, well, I'm going to see it. And I'm like, no, I'm not showing you this. If I show you this, you will be stressed, Andy. You will lose sleep, and you're going to try to get me to do stuff that don't hit. She's like, yeah, I'm going to take care of you. I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
I just took a DNA test. Turns out I'm 100% now having to eat vegetables every goddamn day. Fuck that.
No, it don't hit.
So would you take a DNA
I mean, I wouldn't
test?
mind eating vegetables every day, but
Only
I don't know, man. Like
that Andy fixed.
Would I what?
Only vegetables that Andy fixed.
No, that don't hit.
Right. Would you do it in?
I mean, I don't know. There's part of me that wants to know some stuff. that's my whole life theory right there. There's part of me that wants to know some stuff. But I don't know, man. Like you said, like, I mean, I've been told like, oh yeah, we're Scots Irish on this side and fucking whatever on this side. And I'm like, all right, well, there you go. That's all I know. Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, I too know that nobody in my family owned slaves. And the reason I know that is because my mom and daddy wouldn't have been the first motherfuckers ever in both our families to go to college if goddamn there was old slave money filtering through.
Unless they lost it. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to say you're wrong, but I looked into it. And the reason why I looked into it is I was curious because some families would have like one, you know what I mean? But anyway, go ahead.
Right. Well, okay. Another side to that, yeah, that's accurate. Like, yeah, somebody could have blown through their slave money, but like, I also have family members who, if somewhere down our line, back in our line, there had been slave owners, they'd have been real proud of that, and I'd have heard of it. You know what I mean? Yeah, they'd be like, my great grandpappy owned slaves. Ain't that something? I'd be like, God damn it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like most of Dad's people are like from Pennsylvania and shit. Not that they couldn't have had slaves and stuff, but like. And Mama's was just as far back as we know, just poor as fuck.
Right.
So I don't know. I just want to. Maybe that should just be mysterious.
Mine were mountain people on both sides, and yeah, I mean you're right. Like I'm gonna. It's it's a fucking it's the worst game of roulette you could play, where you just learn what atrocity your people were responsible for. I'm somewhat prepared for that, I guess, because well, it's just like with the Alzheimer's. I've made peace with it. I know it ain't going to be good news on this piece of paper, but there might be something I can use to improve my life, or there might be something cool on it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm hoping that I'm Welsh. My last name is the most common Welsh last name. It's like Smith in Wales.
Oh, word?
Yeah. And I'm hoping that I am Welsh, because the Welsh have a pretty unique history. But, I guess on that note, it'll be disappointing to find out I'm not, like, that I'm like one fucking 30, I got the last name, but that was very much not who I am. But it is what it is.
Right. I wonder how many rednecks have taken the 23andMe or whatever it is DNA test and just aren't saying anything about it because they found out that they ain't Indians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's I'd say at
there's
least
got to be
23
several
of
of those.
Well, Andy's family, they've been saying they were Indian for years, and Andy's got those almond eyes that ain't white people. I think they call, man, I don't know what they call it. There's like a fold or an extra fold or not a fold in your eyes. I don't fucking know. It's going to sound racist if I get more into it, but I'm just saying facts. And Andy ain't got white eyes, and they've been saying they're native for years, and it turns out they're Arab, and that's very hilarious because of the politics of her family as it relates to
right.
the Middle East.
Oh yeah. My sister did that whole DNA thing, and
well, her brother did.
Our family, and
so it's the same. Just look at hers. You don't have to do it, buddy.
That's actually true. But she found out that, my dad's been for years talking about my mama she had a lot of Native American in her, and I've just always been like, yeah, Dad, everybody, that's the fucking big joke. But turns out Kirby went back and looked. She was legit on a registry. Like there was back in the day, like they had a list, which is weird. But she was legitimately on a Cherokee registry.
It's not weird.
Got to give it up to Dad. Hey,
it's not weird. It's not weird. It's how you commit those atrocities we were talking about. And that's the thing that we didn't get into on Into the Biscuit. And that's the other thing that kind of worries me, makes me feel uncomfortable about this information in general. Let's say I have kids, and let's say 200 years down the line, black people organize in this country. They fight back. They demand reparations. They demand true freedom. They do all these things that Killer Mike has been saying that they do. And they should. And they do it. And it goes well. And they decide, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to have our own country. And they build Wakanda in the middle of Atlanta. And everything goes good and expands out from there. And we got peace for a little while. Then we go to war. And an evil person who happens to be black and from that community decides to commit genocide on white people. And, you could argue we deserve it. Although the people that they'd be committing it on would be the descendants of the people who were evil and white. They wouldn't be doing it themselves. Anyway, Then they go get them lists. They've already got a fucking list. You know what I mean? Like, dude, and you go, that's crazy. I know it's crazy, but everything that's ever happened is crazy. I mean, eugenics was Hitler's whole fucking thing. So if you do these DNA tests, it says somewhere what percentage of what you are. And none of that shit matters other than like for your health and it's a quirky history thing. But it matters to some people. There's fucking people out there, and a lot of times they're power hungry. It matters a lot too. Or let's go what's more likely. If you're uncomfortable with me making a black dictator do that wild shit, that makes you uncomfortable because you're a white person and you're like, that would never happen. Like, okay, so you're saying, races aren't equal. Races are equal, and part of that is everyone's capable of evil. But that aside, if it makes you uncomfortable, let's say you find out you're 15% not white, and the fascists continue to take over this country like they are, and they draw the line at 13. Right. My 15% ass is getting shot. They're throwing me in a ditch.
Yeah.
Oh, DJ's calling.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, baby.
What up, baby?
Can you turn that music off?
Yeah, what's up?
Corey, you can't hear him because there's no way for you to be able to hear him because we're on the podcast right now.
Oh, yeah, baby.
But, he has this theory that him and his friends came up with on the 100th viewing of Tombstone. All right, I'm going to walk you through it. You see Curly Bill at the play. He's got his arm around who?
Old boy from 90210.
Billy is the character's name. Jason Priestley is his real name.
Yeah, all right.
They watch the play. Billy Zane walks out on stage. Right?
Yeah.
What does he say?
Yep.
So give me that book.
He says, that's the prettiest man I ever saw.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that dude.
Yeah, Curly Bill says that.
Okay.
Corey, what was the third one? I know the last one. What's the one before the last one?
Well, first off, he's super into the play. Like
he's super into the play.
He's the one of the Cowboys who's like, they're all shooting and spitting and stuff, and he's the one kind of trying to get everybody to be quiet because he wants to watch the play.
All the Cowboys are shooting, spitting, disrupting the play, except for Curly Bill and Billy. And Curly Bill makes them shut the fuck up so they can watch the play.
Yeah.
All right. Then, when Curly Bill's in the opium den, and
well, it wasn't just Curly Bill, though. Goddamn other boy, he wanted to watch it too.
Yeah, Billy. Yeah, I know. That's part of the theory. Hold on, we're getting there. And then, in the opium den, when he comes out shooting and he ends up killing the marshal.
Yeah.
Do you remember what he's doing in the opium den?
Not necessarily, no.
He's fucked up, and he's cupping the face of an Asian man.
Okay.
With his face towards him and his back to the camera.
Okay.
Is Curly Bill gay?
They all gay. What are you talking about? I didn't know that was ever even a question. Cowboys be fucking butts, man. That should have just came. I mean, that's what they did, man.
Cowboys be fucking butts. Well, that is beautiful. Just so you know, crossover situation from Into the Biscuit. Corey and I are talking about DNA, and one thing that has come up that we didn't bring up is that's also how you end up on dictators' lists.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like what I was saying is just now is like, yeah, okay, maybe I find out I'm mostly white, but what if I miss the cutoff number when the fascists truly take over? They make the cutoff number 15%, but I'm 16% not white. Now I'm dead in a ditch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's exactly how it works.
And I'm the one who gave him that information. Listen, I would love to keep you on here, but you and Corey can't hear. He can hear you, but you can't hear him. And also, it sounds like you keep running over a deer. So I'm gonna have to let you go. But thank you. That was beautiful. I could not have planned it better.
Yo, baby, I'm drunk driving.
I know. I told on you on this podcast too. I've been telling everybody. All right, you need. He just hung up. God damn it, man. He's going to go to jail. Fuck.
Oh, man. Well, rest in peace, DJ.
Sorry, I'm trying to fix my phone right. Well, goddamn. There you have it. DJ's theory is, of course, Curly Bill's gay. They're all gay. Cowboys be fucking butts.
Well, that's as good of a theory as I ever heard.
It would explain why Ike is so volatile and angry all the time. He's in love with Curly Bill. And
he's ugly and nobody wants to fuck his stinky butt.
Right, and he's a little in love with Wyatt.
Yeah.
Well,
Curly Bill also had he was the only one of the group that had like flamboyant boots, like he had the playing cards on his boots and his hat and shit. So he had an air about him.
Oh, he definitely had an air about him. And I realized Billy Zane is the actor who portrayed the actor who was also gay.
Yeah.
So I think my Bill theory's checking out.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh shit. Oh wow. Okay, that checks out.
Yeah.
I'll give you 50% probability on that, but I'll tell you what 100%
on the Bill theory.
That's HelloFresh.
Oh, sorry. I just want to know what you were giving me.
It's HelloFresh, Drew. We were talking about eating vegetables, and you can do that with HelloFresh. You can get mouth-watering seasonal recipes and pre-measured ingredients delivered right to your door with HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. HelloFresh makes cooking at home fun, easy, and affordable. HelloFresh's recipes are so delicious. Break out of your dinner rut with HelloFresh's 22-plus seasonal chef-curated recipes each week. There's something for everyone, including low-calorie, vegetarian, and family-friendly recipes every week. HelloFresh has more 5-star recipes than any other meal kit, so you know you'll get something delicious. You save time and stress effortlessly. HelloFresh cuts out stressful meal planning and prepping so you can enjoy cooking and get dinner on the table in just about 30 minutes or even 20 minutes with their quick recipe options. The average trip to the grocery store takes 41 minutes. That's over 35 hours a year if you go once a week. Son of a bitch, that sucks. It's flexible. Add extra meals or lunches to your weekly order and throw in yummy sides and desserts like garlic bread and cookie dough. Easily change your delivery days or food preferences and skip a week whenever you need. I love HelloFresh. Tonight, I will be enjoying my apricot chicken, which I love. It's also, and I've talked about it on this podcast, the main reason that I love this is because it taught my wife that she actually can cook. She's for years like, I can't cook. In college, I just learned how to make quesadillas and stuff. I can't do none of this. And we got HelloFresh, and she's like, well, yeah, I mean, all I did was follow the recipe. I'm like, baby, that is cooking. Are you kidding me?
Baby, that is cooking.
So, Yeah, baby, that's the new slogan. Baby, that is cooking. So go to HelloFresh.com/red10 and use the code red10 for 10 free meals, including free shipping. You literally, you nothing. It charges you nothing.
Why wouldn't you do that?
HelloFresh.com.
We're giving you 10 meals.
There's no reason not to.
Right now. And
10 meals
I've said it on here before.
HelloFresh.com.
Andy's been doing vegetarian. We signed up for the vegetarian service. And the thing it taught me that I didn't realize is there's like more than 3 things you can eat if you're not eating meat. I was like, okay, we're not eating meat. So what we got, like mashed potatoes and salad? This is going to suck. No, there's all kinds of wild shit.
And
you ever heard of a zucchini? It's crazy.
I know, man, because like when I first started like trying to vegetarian, so like I got to eat a big-ass portobello mushroom every night on a bun. Like that's what you get. But no, they got all sorts of stuff. You just go to HelloFresh.com/red10. Use the promo code red10. Get 10 free meals. You don't even have to pay for shipping. There is literally no reason not to do this. And thank you, HelloFresh, for sponsoring the podcast and for sending me my sweet apron that I use all the time so I don't get grease on all my best sweatshirts.
HelloFresh. That's cooking, baby.
That's cooking, baby. Yeah. Well, I'm glad DJ called in. I was going to cut the other stuff about him being drunk, but then here he goes.
No, it's already out on our podcast. He's put it out on that. He knew what he was doing. If he does get pulled over,
he's some heat.
He's fucked. Oh, he's going to get a lot of heat. And deservedly so. I want him to get heat. He can't be acting like that, man.
Well, I mean, I definitely don't want him to get pulled over because there's a lot of
That's what I'm saying. He's like, I'm fine. You know, I'm just going to be on the interstate. And I'm like, dude, I'm not saying you're going to murder a family. I'm saying you're going to get fucking pulled over. And with your record, you're fucked, dude.
Yeah, you're fucked. And I can't have that.
No.
I don't want to. Like, it's hard enough for me to go visit people at their house. I definitely can't, go see you at jail, man. Don't make me do this shit.
Right. Well,
speaking of getting heat, you did something this weekend that really hits for me. You watched AEW wrestling.
Buddy, I did. And I've watched it before, by the way. And I've watched some of the W.
Who are you with? Who'd you watch it with?
Mike Malloy and Dave Bory and Danny.
That's what I thought.
And Andrew. I forgot Andrew's last name. But Mike, Dave, and Danny are my boys. Dave Bory is the voice of Comedy Central. If you watch Comedy Central, you hear someone saying, "Up next, well-read comedy." You'll never hear that. It's Dave saying it. And Mike runs Faded, which is my favorite show in L.A. I'll be on it April 10th. And Dave helps run that too. But anyway, they get the pay-per-views. It feels like they kind of rotate who gets them. Because I went over to Mike's house once and watched a WWE. Is that what we're calling it now?
WWE, yeah.
And I'm out of the game.
WWE.
Yeah, I'm out of the game. You know, I haven't cared about wrestling in a while. You've gotten into it. Conrad's obviously into it, and we've been hanging out with him. I've kind of gotten back into it, but it's very much like, oh, I get it now more than I did. You know, I was just a true believer when I was 15. I knew it was fake, but I didn't know about all that. But now that I know all the tricks, it's like, oh, it's cool to see what the tricks are, but whatever. I didn't feel emotional about it. It was just like, that's kind of cool. I'm glad I kind of know about it again. You know, see the young guy, see who's new. John Cena's crossed over into being a movie star, much like The Rock did. That's cool. And then I watched AEW once, and it was pretty good. And then I watched AEW this weekend, and, buddy, I'm hooked. I have a new favorite wrestler. I tried to buy his T-shirt. It's sold out. His name is Orange Cassidy.
Talking about Orange Cassidy.
And Orange Cassidy is the coolest person I've seen. He's the coolest American, because he's not cooler than Tom Hardy, that I've seen in entertainment in decades.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's cooler than Val Kilmer. He's as cool as Val Kilmer and Tom Cruise were in Top Gun.
So, for those of you that don't know, Orange Cassidy's whole gimmick in wrestling, that's your shtick. His whole gimmick is that he's a kind of a lackadaisical, kind of lazy bastard. Like he goes in the ring, he immediately puts his hands in his pockets, and he's just kind of like, I don't even really want to be here.
Puts his hands in his pockets.
Yeah,
because he taunts his enemies.
Very dramatic, and
with his
And the crowd goes fucking crazy.
Yeah, he's got this laid back attitude, and then it drives the opponents crazy, so they try to hit him, and then he ducks all their punches and moves, but he does it so smoothly with his hands in his pockets. It's unbelievable. And Corey, I know you didn't see the pay per view.
He'd be doing backflips and shit with his hands in his pocket. It's wild.
I don't want to ruin it, man. He did a move with his hands in his pockets, like a counter where he used his. I can't even. You got to see it. He did like a finish. It was crazy. He's crazy. It's great.
Well, I've
He's
seen him
phenomenal.
live. I've seen him live a couple times. I remember when he first came on the scene. Like I'd heard about him in the Indies and stuff, and then they're like, "Oh, he's going to go to AEW," and I was actually there the first time he popped out in AEW, and like I remember all the people around me who had like seen him in the Indies, and they were like, "Yeah, man, this type of stuff, this gimmick, it works in the Indies because like it's like you're in a little gym, there's 35, 40 people, and like they're all laughing, they're all in on it, but like I don't know if this is going to get over with like mainstream like television stuff, like I just don't know." And I've talked to all of them since. They were like, "Man, we were fucking wrong. This dude is over like Rover. Like I've seen him at StarCast a lot. Like his table is always packed. People wanting to come see him, and of course he no sells everything. It's awesome."
And I would argue, and it's so easy for me to say because I wasn't aware of him till now. To me, it's made for a TV audience as much as anything else. It's so hilarious on TV. And he's a great wrestler.
Yeah.
And Mike Malloy made the point. Mike Malloy wrestled in the Indies, was very involved in the Philly scene. Yeah. His buddy Andrew, who got the pay-per-view, you've met Andrew. He goes to all the stuff. He books the comedians. Matter of fact.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember his last name. So you got those very high level. You got high level fans there. You got Dave Borey, who loves wrestling and has pretty much not ever stopped watching it, but never like been as into it as the other two. You got Danny, who's gotten into it in the last 2 years because he hangs out with those guys, and then you've got me, who's seen 3 to 5 matches total in the last 3 years. You've got every level of fan. You got brand new Danny. You got coming back into it me. You got always kind of been into it, but not really Dave. You got super into it and wrestled Mike. And then you got like it's part of his career, Andrew.
Yeah.
Orange got over on us all. Like everyone was loving the match. Even people who knew his gimmick, like Mike, there were some things he did that I don't want to ruin for you. You got to see the match where it was like, fuck, man. And for me as a performer, it was like there's 2 things specifically where I was like, I guess to make it analogous to comedy, it's like one was the perfect joke. We're talking closer. The premise is different, unique. I couldn't see any of the punchlines coming. And then the other thing that he did was like the greatest act out I've seen in years. Like, yeah. Again, we're doing analogies that don't quite work, but the point is, it wasn't. He was technically great.
Work for me.
They were technically great. He was over. He was in it. There was one thing he did in particular. It was so subtle, and it was awesome. Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah, actually, like, to me, like, there's 2 phases of my wrestling fandom, and I'm sort of enjoying one more than the latter, and I didn't think that I would, which is like, when you're a kid, it's like, Santa Claus is real. You know what I'm saying? Like, Santa Claus is real. This shit is awesome. And then you get told that Santa Claus isn't real, and it's like, and then you're out for a second. You're like, man, fuck this, blah, 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 blah. And, we have to say this. It's not fake. It's a work, because fake is an offensive term I've come to learn. It's a work. So, like, you find out that it's a work, and you're like, oh my God, I've just been lied to. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
And I'm fucking out. And then I guess I'm at the point now where it's like, then Santa Claus starts hitting for you again as an adult because you realize what it represents.
How much talent
and
Santa
like,
Claus
oh man,
has.
that's actually, it's pretty. And then also as a comedian and as a performer, now that I know it's a work, I watch it so much differently, but with so much more of an appreciation, because even though I know it's a work, if there's even 5 seconds in a match that they can suspend my disbelief and make me go, okay, I know this is a work, but that seemed like a shoot. That I think they really might hate each other. And I'm sitting there tricking myself. When it's that fucking good, I like it even more now, because as an artist, I'm like, these guys are really fucking good, dude.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like how people think.
And Cassidy, man, it's... Go ahead. What were you saying?
I was going to be a dumb joke, and now because of timing, it'll suck. So go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and Cassidy, man, his whole gimmick's great. And like when he first came out in AEW, he wasn't doing matches. Like he would just come out for like a comedy spot and like slow kick somebody, and then they'd kick his throat over the ropes, and then that was it. But like I actually saw him go at an indie event, GCW in Chicago. I was out there for Starcast, and the night before, I think it was AEW All Out that I went to. That was the pay-per-view. I saw him wrestle Gangrel, and he was sitting there doing backflip kicks with his hands in his pockets and shit. And like, it was awesome. I also got to see Jerry the King Lawler put my favorite wrestler, Manser, through a table that night while I was sitting in the back wearing Jerry the King's fucking crown, son. It was a wild night. Goddamn, I love hanging out with Conrad.
That is, yes, it sounds fun. Does he have Bell's palsy? Is that what's going on with his face?
Who?
Is it Jerry or I get them all confused?
No, it's JR. JR has Bell's palsy.
Well,
yeah, he's had it since 2001.
Right. And so I was like looking, it doesn't look like it. It's not droopy. His lips look weird. I thought he got stung. I was like, is he having an allergic reaction? And everyone goes,
no, it's like a paralysis. Yeah.
He's got Bell's palsy. And I hit him with the joke that I hit you with when you guys found that I have Bell's palsy, or I claim that I have Taco Bell's palsy. I said he's got Taco Bell's palsy, and I just wanted you to know that went over very well.
Of course.
All right, a few things. Okay, first of all, I agree with what you're saying completely. An analogous thing that I do think is perfectly analogous. There was a TED Talk a few years ago. There were two. I didn't realize they were related, but they ended up being related, at least in my experience of them. One was about comedy. It was based on a book where I want to say it was an anthropologist and a psychologist tried to write a book about why things are funny. And they studied a bunch of different things.
I bet that was fucking great.
That was exactly my reaction to hearing about it. It was like, ugh. But I got really into TED Talks for a few years, and I had avoided that one for a while, and then I decided to watch it. And my thought was like, either this is going to be bullshit, or it's going to like ruin stuff for me.
Yeah.
And the TED Talk only covered a piece of the book. So I can't vouch for the book, but the TED Talk was about one particular theory. They came up with a few theories of why things can be funny. And one of them was called the benign violation theory. And the best way I can illustrate it is the one they use is tickling. If you tickle somebody, brain scans prove that it sets off their fight or flight mechanism, but only lightly. And then people laugh for some reason as an uncontrollable response to that. But if you try to tickle a stranger, 9 times out of 10 they won't laugh, and the reason why is their fight or flight gets through the roof. Because who the fuck are you trying to touch me?
Yeah, because they don't fucking know you.
Yeah, I'm not ticklish. And you can't tickle yourself because you can't set your own fight or flight off.
Right.
So you don't laugh when you rub under your own armpits. The way they compare that to a joke, is a dirty joke. And this is where it made so much sense to me, and it actually turned the corner with what you were talking about, where it's like, oh, this isn't ruining comedy at all. This is fucking wildly interesting.
Yeah.
Right, there's people where you tell them a dirty joke. My mother comes to mind. You've gone too far. You didn't brush up against the line. You didn't brush up against their fight or flight. You sent it into overdrive. It's not funny because it's repulsive or scary or whatever the right word is. Their fight or flight kicked in, but now they're wanting to fight or flee. And then there's other people, comedians specifically, and other types, where it ain't dirty enough. If you want to make this person laugh, your dirty joke is going to have to be about like, and I'm going to get gross here, I apologize, but this kind of goes into what I'm saying. Your dirty joke to make a comedian laugh is going to have to be about like fucking an 8-year-old in the shower. And the reason I say that specifically is there is a very funny joke about that, where it's like, what's the best thing about fucking an 8-year-old girl in the shower? You get her hair wet, slick it back, she looks like a 6-year-old boy. Now that joke,
it's kind of
would make a lot of people
a less
bristle.
Disgusting way. Oh, of course.
And because it kicks in their fight or flight, they're grossed out. I'm sure a lot of people listening are grossed out right now, and it's like, that's not funny. It's just dumb and gross. And then there's like dirty jokes,
well, you know what,
that kids like, like a 13-year-old loves, but you and I would be like, it's not. That's okay. I guess it was kind of clever. Where I can't think of one off the top of my head, but the point is, it doesn't set off our fight or flight. It would gross my mom out, so she's not laughing. Me and you aren't laughing because we're not even. It's like tickling ourselves. There's no threat. There's no danger.
Right.
Nothing's tantalizing about this. I found it so wildly interesting. Now, there's certain jokes, wordplay jokes, puns, et cetera, that don't fall into the benign. They call it benign violation theory. But for certain jokes, that's exactly what's happening. There's a violation of norms and an expectation that's not met in an absurd way. And some people, you didn't violate the norms strong enough to make them laugh. And some other people, you violated them too much to make them laugh. Well, I find that wildly interesting.
That is wildly interesting. There's I guess a less disgusting way of the fucking a child in the shower to describe it would be what Tina Fey always said about comedians specifically. It's one of my favorite quotes that anytime someone's like, what does it take to make a comedian laugh? I always go back to this. Tina Fey said, to make an audience laugh, you dress a man up like an old woman and push him down the stairs. But to make a comedian laugh, you push an actual old woman down the stairs.
Right.
And that's very true.
Right.
But with the thing about, let's say your mom, I could see it going kind of the opposite of how tickling works. So like tickling works, if someone you don't know tries to tickle you, it ain't going to work because they're like, why the fuck are you touching me? Get off me. Whereas if someone you know tickles you, they trust you enough to let you in, but they're still like, oh my God, get the fuck off me. So like the opposite of that would be, in my opinion, like if your mom hears you tell a dirty joke, she don't like it because it came from your baby boy. But there's a lot of times where I bet you if she heard that same joke told from Eddie Murphy, because she don't know him, it's fine for her to hear it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because it's more of a violation. It goes back to the same thing and how our brains work and fight or flight kicking in, and because
used to when I would write a dirty-ish joke or whatever, and I wanted to run it by, because I was living at home, the only people I could run shit by was my parents. If I would tell them this dirty joke that I wrote, they would be like, oh my God, Jesus, not that. Can't you just write clean? So I learned this trick, which was if I thought of a dirty joke, I would tell them, hey, I was watching YouTube and I heard this joke, and I would tell them and they would laugh. Even if it was like, if I had said it came from me, they'd have been like, that's awful. You need to write better. But if I told them it came from somebody else, they'd laugh.
You were working
but every single time.
It was a work.
I was working them. And if it really hit, then I would be like, yeah, actually, your boy thought of that.
And if it didn't, you were like, yeah, that guy's an
whatever.
idiot. I don't know why he wrote that joke. I didn't think it was funny either.
Exactly.
See you guys later.
Exactly.
I'm going to go do heroin in your guest house. I think that it's also very similar to, or no, it's the same thing. It's what's going on. You ever notice, I know you've noticed, we've talked about it before. You tell a joke that is not racist at all. It's not even really dealing with racism, but you're commenting on racism or you're talking about race in a way. And the white people look around.
Yep.
And see if a black person's laughing, if there is a black person there, and then they kind of like breathe out and they start laughing. Another thing we've talked about, if a comedy club is too bright and the audience can see each other, they won't laugh as much.
Yep.
It's like a big
shameful
reason why you want the comedy club to be dark as a performer. You want the crowd not to be able to see each other. It's because of what we're talking about. Like that fight or flight part, the violation of the norm of polite society is funnier, but that fight or flight part of their brain will get heightened if everyone can see them. Now they're even more uncomfortable.
Yeah,
they're not going to laugh.
Every time you tell a dirty joke or something to like let's say a mama or old like every single time you do it, they every time they laugh they cover their mouth, and that's an involuntary like, oh, you can't see me laugh. But when the comedy club's dark, people don't have to do that shit because they're like, we can laugh in anonymity. But yeah, if the room's lit up, people are like, I can't be seen laughing at this shit. If I was at home, however, this would be a fucking banger.
So, all right, so then I said there were 2 TED Talks. There's another one about music. And I honestly don't actually remember which one I watched first. In my mind right now, I watched the comedy one, and since it was good, I kind of gave myself permission to watch the music one. It could have been the other way around. I go back and forth in my life on which is more sacred to me. Comedy, because it's something I love so much, and like, I'm obsessed with it. It's what I love to do. I love figuring it out. The workings of it. I love doing it myself. Versus music, which is more of like an escape, an almost religious experience for me. Like that's where I go to get entertained. Like the way people feel about seeing comedy, that's how I feel about seeing music. So I don't know which one I watched first, but there's one about music too. But I definitely had the same thought of it where it's like, I don't want the secrets. I don't want to go behind the mask. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't want to see how the sausage is made.
Right. The Wizard of Oz kind of thing. Like, don't peel the curtain back. Let me believe in the wizard. Which, not the first time someone with my accent has said that. First time we was talking about art, though. So, and sorry, my throat's getting scratchy. The music one was about how music's kind of innate inside of us. The first demonstration the guy does, he hums the pentatonic scale, but he doesn't do the last note. He points to the crowd, and they all just nail the last note. And he's like, we've done that with 6-year-olds, and they get it right. And he's like, there's no way to prove that they didn't hear it as a baby. You know, and you can't test it on a baby because they aren't capable of that. But the pentatonic scale, you know, the end of it feels right to all of us.
Sure.
And man, the whole thing was like that. The whole talk was like that. It was awesome. So it's like I thought of those two stories because of what you were saying about wrestling being better now that you know all the ins and outs and how the sausage is made. That's unexpected for me, but it is my experience. And I don't know if it's getting older. I don't know if that used to not be the case, and now that I'm getting older, it's the case, or if I was just such a cynical young person thinking I would hate, you know, because there's still a part of me that worries with the comedy thing. It's like, yeah, but you let academics get a hold of your art, it does change it. You know, eventually it becomes a formula, and technicians start doing it in a way that's like hot. And I still kind of believe that, but there's also a part of me that loves learning all that shit, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love the behind the scenes shit now, but at the same time it's like, well, I have to now because I know all this shit. So like, of course I'm going to dive into that, but I can't really,
but you know,
I can't say
it's not true with music though.
No, that's not true with music. And I don't really I wouldn't want really to watch someone break down the technicalities of how a hit song is made. I don't think. I just want to know, like, maybe, I don't know. Like with comedy, obviously I want to know that because I am that's my world. Like I need to know all that shit. Like I know that it's a fucking, like, even if you don't think there's a formula to what you do, there kind of is one innately that maybe you just can't describe, but like everybody's got their own formula for like how this joke goes and how this joke goes and blah, blah, blah. But that's my job. I don't escape into comedy. And I am I'm very fucking sacred about comedy in the sense of like, I love, like, music is all around me. Music is my escape, but comedy is my fucking world. So like if I see bad music, my thought is, oh, well, that's just bad music. I won't listen to it. There's something out there for everybody. But when I see bad comedy, I get real defensive because I'm like, God damn it, people are going to see that and think that's what I do. And I'm sure there's other musicians that feel that way about when they see shitty music, whereas I can just go, whatever, man. There's a bunch of stuff and some of it's shitty. But with comedy, I take it as like a personal offense when someone is just a terrible comedian. I'm like, God damn it, you need to leave.
Well, it's just personal experience, but I'm now thinking about it, realizing the things that happened with me were with the comedy thing. It's like I was afraid of it because it was like, yeah, but like I worked really hard to figure all this out, trial by fire. Please don't give people cheat codes, which in retrospect was stupid because you know, you're funny or you're not, first of all, and second of all, you know, you can tell somebody how music, taking it back to music, you can teach someone to play the clarinet, but if, you know, motherfuckers wanting to see you in concert, that has to do with your art. And then with music, my defensiveness was what you were talking about, where it was like, don't ruin the magic for me. But I got to tell you, it didn't. It made it more magical to me. Like that whole talk made it even wilder and more magical to me.
Well, and you know, that's interesting because I could probably make the argument for like if someone watched an hour-long thing on like dissecting jokes and why things are funny, everybody's like, well, that ruins it because they won't. I'd be like, no, I don't think it does, because now every time they watch an hour-long special, they no longer have in their mind like, yeah, that dude's just funny. He knew how much fucking effort and how much science was behind what this person did. Maybe they would enjoy it more. So yeah, you're right. I'm full of shit.
Well, no, I don't think you're full of shit, because with comedy, there's a counter thing there where it's like, you know, what's the Mark Twain line? A joke's like a frog. You know, it's great till you dissect it or something like that.
Right.
Like, if you dissect it, it kills it.
Yeah, if you dissect it, it kills it.
Well,
like, people
I mean,
need to believe that Ron White just has a shot of fucking scotch and goes up there and tells you about this time he was on a boat. But that's not accurate.
Right, and you and I laugh less than common or normal, regular comedy fans because we've worked at it so long and know so much about it. And so maybe people would laugh less. And if that is the case...
Yeah, it's rare that...
Go ahead.
I'm sure it is for you, but it's rare for me that I'm watching a special, even the greats, even some of the greats, where I'm watching a special and at least 70% of the time my brain wasn't filling in the rest of the joke. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, even if I hadn't seen it. Now, the truth, like, sometimes with like Mulaney, obviously there's the 30% that I don't get, which is what makes them the greats, where I'm like, God damn, I really thought I had it and I didn't. But like, even the greats, I can still fill in a lot of it because I've done comedy and I know how it fucking works. So like, yeah, it's so impossible to get comedians to laugh the same fucking way that civilians do. So when someone does, that's why we tell people who the greatest of all times are. We don't let fans decide who the greatest comedians of all time are. Comedians are the ones who make that Mount Rushmore. And we just tell y'all, and if y'all don't agree with it, well, you don't know fucking shit.
Yeah, but musicians are the same way, dude. But they be talking, and like, most of the time my eyes start to glaze over. I'm like, no, I've never heard of that fucking guitarist, nor do I give a shit. You know what I mean?
Right. But, who cares? Right, who cares?
But we gotta wrap this up, brother.
Yeah, we do. Come see us on the road. WellREDcomedy.com, WellRED comedy.com. Here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Come see us, Raleigh. Raleigh, come see us. Like, it's North Carolina. It's Good Nights Comedy Club. It's one of our favorite clubs in the country. There's going to be a whole slew of new jokes. There's probably going to be a tiny horse there. March 12th, 13th, and 14th. It's going to be fucking rad. There's still tickets available. I'm almost mad there's still tickets available. North Carolina, y'all are our people. Let's fucking do this, Raleigh-Durham. Let's do this.
Then New Orleans, then Indianapolis, and then after that, you'll just have to go to wellredcomedy.com and look for yourself. And it's also subscribe to our newsletter so you'll know where we're going to be before we know where we're going to be. We can't even show up to podcast on time. We got to fucking look at everything before we start making ticket changes.
Don't count on us for anything except making you laugh. So come to the show and we'll do that.
There you go.
Skew.
Well, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next week. And skew.
All right, I'm going to go get Brandon. I got to run, buddy.
All right, buddy, out of two.
Oh, DJ says, back in the day, you could love a man. Greeks, man, all they did was wrestle and fuck butts. Bye, buddy.
Thank you all for listening to the WellRED Show. We'd love to stick around longer, but we got to go. Tune in next week if you got nothing to do. Thank you, God bless you, good night and skew.